It all started on a calm Tuesday afternoon. The sun was just beginning to dip behind the trees, casting long shadows across our driveway, when Karen, the self-proclaimed queen of the neighborhood, decided she had a bone to pick with us. She showed up unannounced, clutching a clipboard like it was a weapon, striding onto our property as if she owned it. Her heels clicked aggressively against the pavement, and her glare was sharp enough to cut glass. "You have to join the HOA," she barked the second she reached the gate. "Membership is mandatory. You're breaking rules just by refusing, and there will be consequences." My wife, standing beside me, didn't flinch. She's always been calm under pressure, but few knew just how dangerous calm could be. "We are not joining your HOA," she said firmly, her voice level and unwavering. "We own this property. We follow the law, not your arbitrary rules." Karen's eyes narrowed, her face turning red. "Do you know who I am? I run this neighborhood," she screamed, her voice rising. Then, almost as if on cue, she pulled a small handgun from her purse. "If you don't comply, you will regret it." For most people, this would have been a nightmare scenario, the classic armed intruder situation. Heart racing, adrenaline spiking, panic setting in. But my wife is not most people. What nobody knew was that she is an FBI tactical commander, trained for high-risk arrests, armed threats, and life-or-death encounters. In less than 3 seconds, she had assessed Karen's position, body language, and the way she was holding the gun. Without hesitation, she stepped forward, grabbed Karen's wrist, twisted it, and the gun fell harmlessly to the ground. Within another 2 seconds, Karen was pinned face down on the driveway, completely immobilized. My wife's voice was low, calm, and deadly serious. "Don't move. I mean it. You are done here." Karen struggled, kicking and yelling, but my wife didn't budge. Every movement was precise, controlled, and practiced, a perfect display of tactical training in action. Then she retrieved her phone and dialed the local authorities, keeping her weight firmly on Karen to prevent any sudden moves. By the time the police arrived, Karen was in full meltdown mode, shouting that she was just enforcing HOA rules, and no one can do this to her. The officers immediately saw the situation for what it was: brandishing a weapon, harassment, and trespassing. Karen was handcuffed and led away, still screaming about HOA regulations, still failing to grasp that she had just threatened an FBI commander. Meanwhile, my wife straightened her clothes, dusted off her hands, and calmly walked back to the porch as if she had just handled an annoying telemarketer. "Next time," she said to me with a half smile, "maybe bring cookies instead of a gun." I couldn't help but laugh, even as adrenaline still coursed through my veins. Word of the incident spread through the neighborhood like wildfire. People whispered about the HOA showdown, and though some were curious, no one dared confront us after that. Even the HOA president called, stammering apologies, clearly unsure if they were dealing with a regular homeowner or a highly trained federal operative. Karen? She never set foot near our property again. But the story didn't end there. Over the next few weeks, I noticed that our property boundaries, once frequently crossed by nosy neighbors and HOA volunteers, were now respected without question. Children walking dogs kept to the sidewalks. Gardeners and delivery people no longer lingered longer than necessary. Even HOA notices, which had once flooded our mailbox daily, now trickled in slowly, politely, and carefully worded. It became clear that Karen's attempt to assert dominance had backfired spectacularly. The neighborhood learned, albeit reluctantly, that there is a difference between authority and actual power, and that threatening someone without understanding their background can be catastrophic. One evening, as my wife and I sat on the porch watching the sun set over our perfectly quiet property, she remarked, "You know, it's almost funny." She thought a little gun and a clipboard could intimidate us. I nodded. "Funny, yes, but also terrifying, if it weren't for you." She smiled faintly. "I've handled worse. And besides," she looked over at the street, where Karen's house now seemed emptier than usual. "Sometimes people need a very clear lesson to understand boundaries." From that day forward, the neighborhood respected our space, our rules, and most importantly, our authority. The HOA never attempted to interfere again, and Karen's name became a cautionary tale whispered in backyards and at block parties. Never underestimate the quiet ones. Never threaten someone whose calm is backed by skill, experience, and a lifetime of training. The lesson was clear, the message unmistakable, and the neighborhood finally, painfully aware. Some homeowners don't just follow the law, they enforce it in ways you'll never see coming. And Karen learned, the hard way, that power is only effective when it's backed by knowledge, not entitlement. By the end of the month, life returned to normal. We mowed the lawn, tended the garden, and enjoyed the peace that comes from knowing you've defended your home. Not with aggression, but with absolute control. Karen, she vanished from our lives, but her legend lived on, a reminder that arrogance and a lack of preparation can lead to the most spectacular of failures.